Jurassic Park, one of the biggest media franchises of all time, possibly. I don't know the true numbers. But definitely one of the biggest dinosaur franchises, if not the biggest. Land Before Time ain't got nothing on Jurassic Park. With 2 novels, soon to be 6 movies, and a bunch of merchandise and video games, this is truly a franchise worth studying. It's one of my personal favorite franchises. I love rewatching these movies, even the bad ones, because quite frankly, even the bad ones are still enjoyable to me. Am I biased because of dinosaurs? Yes, 100%. Okay, now that introductions are out of the way, what am I talking about today? I mean, obviously I'm not going to talk about the dinosaurs. I've pretty much talked about every species that this franchise has featured in some form or another, and even if I didn't, I've talked about one of their close relatives, so it would just be redundant. And I'm not here to criticize this series in a full-length video. That's like the most cliche thing you can do as a paleo fan. Like, everybody already knows that the velociraptors are actually deinonychuses, or that the T-Rex is blah blah blah, or the Spinosaurus is outdated, and stuff like that. No, I'm not here to talk about the errors of this series. Rather, I'm here to talk about the original creations of this franchise. Now, some of you more casual fans may be thinking, well, what are you talking about? What do you mean, original creations? What I'm talking about in this video is Jurassic Park's long history with the hybrid. In case you guys don't know, a hybrid is the combination of 2 different animals to create an entirely new species. 2 of the most famous hybrids include the mule, a hybrid between a horse and a donkey, and the liger, a combination between a tiger and a lion. Now that we know what a hybrid is, let's look at this series' history with the hybrid. Our first introduction to Jurassic Park's hybrids comes from the toy line Jurassic Park Chaos Effect. This is quite an interesting sub-series of Jurassic Park, as it was planned to be a lot bigger than it ended up actually being. Yes, it started out as a toy line, but they were actually planning to make an entire animated series based on it. However, unfortunately, the series was a complete failure, and only half the toys actually ended up getting released. I'm not going to be talking about every toy in this line, since some of them are literally just, oh, it's a dinosaur, but better. I'm only going to be looking at the hybrids, which I'll be going through in alphabetical order in 2 categories, the ones that were released and then unreleased. First up, we got Amarga spinus, a hybrid between Amargasaurus and Spinosaurus, thereby making it a carnivorous sauropod. Which, if you think about it, is actually kind of a terrible idea. I mean, just think about it. There is no way you wouldn't see a sauropod coming. I mean, they're huge. Where were they gonna hide? And secondly, sauropods probably shook the ground when they walked. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe they were silent when they walked. I don't know. Apparently T-Rex was silent when it walked. Who cares? My point is, I don't think this thing would be a very good predator. But hey, I guess it looks cool. And it's a combination of 2 dinosaurs famous for their backs that aren't Stegosaurus, so yay? I give this one a 5 out of 10 on the hybrid scale, because this thing is simply impractical. Next, we got Enchilorannodon, a fusion between Ankylosaurus and Pteranodon. This thing, I think, is the definition of over-designed. I mean, just looking at this thing is kind of an eyesore for me. It's like, I get it, it's trying to be a fusion of Ankylosaurus and Pteranodon, but where did those teeth come from? I mean, if those are supposed to be Ankylosaurus based, then this thing wouldn't be a very good carnivore. And why does its head look like that of a theropod dinosaur? Ankylosaurus' head did not look like that, and neither did Pteranodon's. And why does its crest look more like that of a Parasaurolophus than a Pteranodon? And also, I think this thing might be too heavy to fly. There's a reason that birds and pterosaurs don't have armor. It would make them too heavy to fly. And oh yeah, although it's not seeable in this picture, it still has a tail club, which according to its description makes it a deadly predator. But like, why would it suddenly be a land-based predator if Pteranodon was a fish eater and Ankylosaurus was an herbivore? This thing just makes less sense the more and more I think about it. I give it a 2 out of 10. And oh yeah, its name literally means fused and toothless. That's the stupidest name I've ever heard for an animal. Next up, we got Compsognathus, a hybrid between Compsognathus and Stegosaurus. And also, according to its description, it also has frog DNA. Wait, don't all the Jurassic Park dinosaurs have frog DNA? Wait, so why is this one special for having frog DNA? They said in the first movie that all the Jurassic Park dinosaurs were resurrected using frog DNA. Side note, but why did they use frog DNA? Why wouldn't you use bird or lizard? Why frog? Anyway, okay, I'm getting off topic. Let's talk about this thing. So, this is Compsognathus. Honestly, I don't really know what to say about this guy. They pretty much just took a Compsognathus and added, like, Stegosaurian traits like the head shape and the spikes and plates. I don't really know what to say here. According to its description, its spikes are now an attack method rather than a defense mechanism, so yeah, that's something, I guess. 6 out of 10. Next, we got Paradeinonychus. Funny thing is, this name literally translates to near terrible claw. I just kind of find that funny. It's like they're going, yeah, this thing's claws are almost terrible. They're nearly terrible, but they're not that terrible yet. Anyway, so basically, this guy is pretty much a carnivorous Parasaurolophus. According to its description, it's amphibious, and it's able to stay underwater for a long time like a Parasaurolophus. Oh yeah, aquatic Parasaurolophuses was a thing, wasn't it? Okay, in case you don't know, it used to be a popular theory that Parasaurolophus's crest was a snorkel that allowed it to breathe underwater. In fact, all hadrosaurs were thought to have been amphibious and spent a lot of their time in the water. But nowadays, we know that they're probably most likely mostly terrestrial animals, and we still don't know the full purpose of a Parasaurolophus's crest. The most popular theory to this day is that it was a way to amplify their calls, but, you know, whatever. You know, for outdated information, I'm giving you a 5 out of 10 Paradeinonychus. And yes, I say Deinonychus instead of Deinonychus, get over it. Well, I guess that's why they call you the almost terrible claw. Although I will say, it's always weird seeing Deinonychuses in Jurassic Park media, considering velociraptors in those movies are already pretty much Deinonychuses in all but name. But, whatever. Next we got Tanaconda. Tanaconda? Never mind, I'm not gonna make that joke. Anyway, this is a combination of Tanystropheus and an anaconda. I guess they couldn't think of any prehistoric snakes to fuse it with, so they were just like, why not an anaconda? Yeah, why not? According to this thing's description, it's still a constrictor hunter, except now I guess it's wrapping its neck around things. That seems like it would be pretty inconvenient to do, unless it's also using its legs to wrap itself around, but the non-neck parts don't look very flexible to me. Also, apparently this thing is venomous. Even though anacondas aren't venomous, and it's very unlikely that Tanystropheus was venomous. Anyway, I give this thing about a 6 out of 10, because I do not know why they decided to make this thing venomous and a constrictor. That just seems kind of redundant. Next, we got Velociraptorix, a hybrid between Velociraptor and Archaeopteryx. It's kind of weird to see a Velociraptor in a piece of Jurassic Park media with an anatomically correct head. Also feathers, which apparently come from the Archaeopteryx. Also, this thing can apparently fly. Yeah. You know, this thing's wings are really painful to look at because just look at them. The feathers aren't connected to the arm, rather, it has a bone jutting out from near its hands that the feathers are connected to. Does that disturb anyone else? Ugh. Anyway, this thing is kind of the mascot of the toy line since it was featured in the commercials and stuff like that. So, yeah. So let me get this straight. A weird hybrid dinosaur ends up being a more accurate velociraptor than the velociraptors in the movies. That's just weird to think about. 7 out of 10. Next up, we got Tyrannops, a hybrid between Tyrannosaurus rex and Lycanops, which was a therapsid. You know, of all the animals you could fuse T-Rex with and make something cool, they chose a mammal-like reptile that nobody cares about. Like, seriously, before I mention it, have you ever heard of a Lycanops? Have you? Be honest. Also, I'm not even seeing where the T-Rex part of it comes in. It just looks like a Lycanrops with a weird color scheme. Where exactly does the T-Rex fit into this equation? I give this a 1 out of 10 for being probably the most lazy hybrid. Seriously, where is the T-Rex here? Well, that was the last one that actually got released. The next ones got cancelled and only exist through promotional images. Our first cancelled toy is Dino Canis, whose name literally means terrible dog. It's a hybrid between Deinonychus and the direwolf, which was categorized as Canis at the time before it was found out that it wasn't a true wolf. You know, as the Jurassic Park wiki points out, this thing kinda looks like the Indoraptor if you look at it long enough. I'll be getting to that later, though. Anyway, design-wise, I think it's pretty cool. I think that ridge along its back is supposed to be like a mohawk or something. I don't know. Anyway, I like the design here. And I do always get a kick out of fusions between two entirely different groups of animals, in this case a reptile and a mammal. So I think this is the best one we've seen so far, and it was sadly cancelled. 8 out of 10. Next, we got Dilophospinus, a hybrid between Dilophosaurus and Spinosaurus. Not much is known about this one since it only exists in concept art and doesn't have a description, but just looking at this thing, it's kind of meh. It's just a Dilophosaurus but with fins, so yeah, not very impressive. 3 out of 10. Next we got Pachysaurolophilus, a hybrid between Pachycephalosaurus and Parasaurolophus. I think this one's the worst case of not being able to see a dinosaur in this, because in this case, I can't see either species here. I mean, I guess it's bipedal like a Pachycephalosaurus, but, like, it doesn't have a thick head. That thing is its crest, I guess, and it looks nothing like a Parasaurolophus crest. This looks more like a weird theropod hybrid. Then again, I don't know what I would do if I had to make a combination between these two species, but still, this doesn't look like either of them, and for that, I give it a 1 out of 10 for failing to capture either of them. Next up, despite our next toy being cancelled, it's probably the most famous toy in the set. Ladies and gentlemen, Ultimasaurus. A hybrid between T-Rex, Triceratops, Velociraptor, Stegosaurus, and Ankylosaurus. I can see why this is the most famous. This thing just looks awesome. I would definitely want a toy of this. Well, I mean, it is a toy, but it got cancelled and was never actually released. Anyway, so yeah, this thing just looks cool. Although, apparently, the reason this toy was cancelled, from what I've heard, is that it was too much of a poking hazard. It's covered in a lot of spikes, and it might not have been the safest toy for young children, so unfortunately, it got cancelled. I'm giving this thing a 10 out of 10 in terms of hybrids. This thing is just awesome. Well, after that toy line was a failure, Jurassic Park kind of stayed away from hybrids for a while. At least until the series came back in a big way. After Jurassic Park 3 came out, the franchise went on a bit of a hiatus. It didn't completely go away. There were still toys and the occasional video game, but Jurassic Park was nowhere near as big as it was in the 90s. But then, news came out about the new 4th movie, Jurassic World. Not only was this going to take place in a fully populated theme park rather than an island with just a few people, but there's going to be a new hybrid dinosaur, the Indominus Rex, the untamable king. The Indominus Rex is a hybrid between T-Rex, Velociraptor, Giganotosaurus, Carnotaurus, Rugops, Majungasaurus, Psychonemosaurus, Quilmosaurus, Viavenator, Therizinosaurus, the Crocodilian Deinosuchus, a cuttlefish, a tree frog, and a pit viper, all rolled together in a large theropod dinosaur that when fully grown can reach 50 feet in length, rivaling the Spinosaurus for the largest theropod. In addition, it also has camouflaging powers, the ability to turn off its body temperature, and intelligence comparable to that of raptors. In the film, the Indominus was said to have been created as a way to boost ticket sales to the park, as due to how long the park had been open, people are starting to get bored of dinosaurs. So in order to draw in more crowds, they decided to make a brand new dinosaur. At least that's what the cover story is. In truth, the Indominus was created as a test for military-grade dinosaurs, which,
if I'm being honest, is a plot point I don't really care for. Like, whenever I watch one of these movies, they keep bringing this up, and every time I'm just like, oh, boo-hoo, get back to the dinosaurs already. Anyway, there were initially 2 indominuses created, but one of them was cannibalized. Afterwards, the remaining individual grew up completely isolated, not even being given live prey like the other dinosaurs, instead only being fed through a crane. These factors combined led to the indominus becoming more and more unhinged, until one day it ended up leaving scratch marks on one of its exhibit walls, tricking the staff into thinking it had escaped. However, this was all a trap in order to trick the staff into opening its door. After escaping, the indominus went on a rampage throughout the island, killing everything that moved. However, as they say in the movie, it didn't eat 'em, it's killing for sport. That was a terrible Chris Pratt impression. Anyway, in order to counter the indominus, they end up releasing the park's raptor pack on it. Unfortunately, the indominus is part raptor, and she ends up convincing the raptors that the humans are the enemies, causing a massive ruckus. Later, though, the raptors are turned back to the human side and rebel against the indominus. However, she ends up disposing of all 3 raptors, so they realize they need more power. As such, they release the park's T-Rex, and the 2 large theropods engage in an epic duel. Unfortunately, the indominus proves to be too much for the Tyrannosaur, and it seems like we're going to read a repeat of Jurassic Park 3. But then it turns out one of the raptors survived, and the 2 real dinosaurs double-team against the hybrid, until eventually they knock it near the shores of the Mosasaur exhibit, where the Aquatic monitor quickly disposes of it, proving once and for all that land monsters are a lot less cool than sea monsters. After appearing in the movie, the Indominus kind of became the face for the Jurassic World trilogy, and it started appearing in pretty much every piece of tie-in media. Of course, it got toys like all the dinosaurs, but in addition, pretty much every Jurassic Park video game from then on featured the Indominus Rex, including Jurassic Park Builder, despite the fact that that game takes place in an alternate universe where the original park wasn't a failure. So, like, why was it still created in this universe? Oh well. Unfortunately, reception from audiences wasn't the best. A lot of people criticized it for looking too generic and not very hybridy, and I can definitely see where this came from. This thing just looks like an Abelisaur with actual arms. In fact, shortly after the film came out, there was an actual hashtag on Twitter where paleo fans were challenged to creating a better hybrid theropod. But hey, we're still here talking about it today, aren't we? So who really won in the long term? 3 years later, we were given Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, which introduced a new hybrid dinosaur, the Indoraptor, the untamable thief. Although, in real life, its name actually translates to Indian thief, so, yeah. The Indoraptor is made by taking the Indominus Rex and, pumping more raptor DNA into it, creating a hybrid that's smaller and more compact, making it easier to use as a weapon. The Indoraptor is trained to attack anything you aim a laser pointer at and then make a noise. No idea why, if you point a gun at someone, why you wouldn't just shoot them, but hey, dinosaurs as weapons. That's the plot we're going with. In addition, the Indoraptor possesses both night vision and echolocation. It has a very high tolerance for tranquilizer, making it difficult to knock out. It can switch between being a quadruped and a biped, and it seems to be even more intelligent than even the raptors, with the biggest display of its intelligence coming from a scene where it pretends to be knocked out in order to lure one of the film's villains towards him. In the film, the Indoraptor was established as being a prototype creature in order to make the complete version they would need it to have been raised by a raptor. However, at one point while the Indoraptor is being displayed at an auction, a Stygimoloch bursts in and starts causing a ruckus which makes everyone flee. Then we get the tranquilizer scene I mentioned earlier, and the Indoraptor escapes and starts causing a ruckus on the mansion where the film takes place. Eventually it gets into a fight with the Raptor Blue and gets impaled on the skull of a Agujaceratops. Yeah, apparently that's what the skull was from. Reception to the Indoraptor was generally more positive than the Indominus, since this thing looked a lot more fantastical than the Indominus, making it more impressive to most people. Just like the Indominus, the Indoraptor ended up in pretty much every video game since the film, even though some of these games take place in universes where logically the events that led to its creation shouldn't have happened. But, whatever, it's cool to have. Well, the third film's probably gonna have hybrid dinosaurs too, but If I'm being frank, ever since the promotional material for Finding Dory spoiled the whole movie for me, I do not look up trailers or pre-release things for upcoming movies. If I go to a movie theater, I just see the trailer for something, go, that's cool, and don't look into it further. So if Jurassic World 3 does have a new hybrid, then quite frankly, you'll just have to wait 20 years for me to talk about it. Well, that's all the hybrids from the movies. There were only 2 of them. Yeah. But, whatever. Oh yeah, I guess there was also the TV show Camp Cretaceous, but if I'm being quite frank, this video is long enough, so let's just move on to another segment. Now that we got the movies out of the way, let's look at the Jurassic Park hybrids in the video games. Ever since Jurassic World came out and popularized the concept of hybrid dinosaurs in the franchise, plenty of Jurassic Park video games have featured hybrid dinosaurs. For example, there's the mobile game, Jurassic World the Game. I say example, but it's what we're going to be talking about now. In addition to featuring a lot of real-world dinosaurs, this game has featured a lot of hybrids. So, let's look through them. Just like the toy line, we'll be reviewing this in alphabetical order, so let's go. Our first hybrid is Alangosaurus, a hybrid between Majungasaurus and the pterosaur Elanqua. If I'm being honest, this seems like one of the most pointless hybrids in history. I mean, what is the point of this thing? They got rid of its nose horn, so that's already a kind of a downgrade. It can't fly, so, like, what is the point of this being a hybrid? For being a pointless hybrid, I give it a 2 out of 10. Next, we got Ankylodocus. Ankylodocus? How do you pronounce that? Anyway, it's a fusion between Ankylosaurus and Diplodocus. You know, were those 2 dinosaurs really necessary to fuse together? I think you'd get a similar result if you fused together a Shunosaurus and a Saltosaurus. But, what do I know? Maybe the Jurassic Park scientist knows something I don't. Oh well. It is relatively cool looking. So, 7 out of 10. Next up, we got Carniraptor, a hybrid between Carnotaurus and Pyroraptor. Yes, there's a dinosaur called Pyroraptor. Get over it. I really like this. It's like a smaller, more compact Carnotaurus with actual hands. So, yeah, I like this. 8 out of 10. Pretty cool. Next, we got Cerazenosaurus, a hybrid between Ceratosaurus and Therizinosaurus. I don't get it. Is it just Ceratosaurus but with longer claws now? That seems kind of stupid. 4 out of 10. Next, we got Diplotator, a hybrid between Diplocaulus and Irritator. Yes, there's a dinosaur called Irritator, get over it. I have mixed feelings about this thing. On the one hand, yeah, I guess it does look more ferocious now, but on the other hand, it kind of looks stupid. You know, because I can't figure out one way or the other, this thing gets a 5 out of 10. Next, we got Dracoceratops. So, dragon horn face? Okay. It's a hybrid between Triceratops and Dracorex, and quite frankly, this seems kind of lazy to me. It literally just looks like they pasted a ceratopsid head on top of a pachycephalosaur body and called it a day. I just realized, pachycephalosaurs and ceratopsids were close relatives. Holy crap, I think they're onto something here. Okay, that's actually genius. 10 out of 10. Hahaha. Next, we got Erliphosaurus, a hybrid between Dilophosaurus and Erlikosaurus. Yes, that's a real dinosaur. Get over it. Anyway, I don't really like this thing's aesthetic. It looks too alien, for lack of a better word. 3 out of 10. Next, we got Giganocephalus, a hybrid between Giganotosaurus and Euoplocephalus. If I'm being honest, this thing looks like it would be pretty impractical. Like, yeah, it's covered in spikes and armor, but just look at how thick that armor is. This thing doesn't look like it'd be able to see anything. It looks like it would just always be flailing its tail around willy-nilly and not really knowing what's around it. Honestly, this thing looks like something that's cool in theory, but in practice, it's just... Also, where did the extra spikes come from? I know Euoplocephalus had a lot of spikes, but why would being fused with Giganotosaurus give it, like, tusks like a boar? 3 out of 10. Next we got Gorgosuchus, a hybrid between Gorgosaurus and Caprisuchus. Honestly, this thing doesn't look too bad. I wouldn't be surprised if we actually found something like that in the fossil record. Although, the only thing I don't get about it is, why does it have a nose horn? Neither Gorgosaurus or Caprisuchus had those, so why does this have it? Oh well, pretty good hybrid. 7 out of 10. Next we got Coolosaurus, a hybrid between Coolosuchus and Sarcosuchus. Yeah, they had to add the saurus part because no matter what they hybridize their names as, it would just be one of their names or the other, you know what I mean? Anyway, this is one of the more lazy hybrids. They pretty much just took Coolosuchus and threw some scoots on it and called it a day. So 2 out of 10. Next we got Labyrinthosaurus, a hybrid between Labyrinthodon and Argentinosaurus. So what, is it like amphibious now, or what? What does it gain from being fused with a Labyrinthodon? Huh. This one's so confusing to me. 4 out of 10, I guess. Next we got Limnorhynchus, a hybrid between Colubrinicus and Limnosceles. This is another one I don't really have words for. 5 out of 10. Next we got Metriolong, a hybrid between a Goinlong and a Metrionychus. This one is actually pretty cool looking. 6 out of 10. Next we have Metryphodon. Metryphodon? Metryphodon. How do you pronounce this thing? It's a hybrid between Dimorphodon and Metriacanthosaurus. It's a bit too generic looking for me. 4 out of 10. Next we got Nundagosaurus, a hybrid between Nundasuchus and Tujingosaurus. I really like this one. Looks more a bit Ankylosaurian than Stegosaurian if I had to make a complaint, but otherwise this is a pretty great hybrid. 8 out of 10. Next we got Astaposaurus. That's a pretty catchy name. Astaposaurus. Astaposaurus. It's a hybrid between Microposaurus and Austrifricosaurus. Yes, that's a real name. Get over it. Anyway, fine. 5 out of 10. Next, we got Pachyceratops, a hybrid between Pachycephalosaurus and a Pseudoceratops. This one is actually pretty cool. It's definitely a much better Ceratopsid Pachycephalosaur combination than the Draco Rex one earlier. The only problem is, where are this thing's eyes? How is it supposed to see? And how is getting rid of its horn supposed to be helpful? Oh well. 7 out of 10. Next we got Parasaura, a hybrid between Parasaurolophus and Bonitosaurus. Yes, that's a real dinosaur, get over it. I'm not exactly sure what adding Parasaurolophus to a sauropod adds. If you're wondering about the spikes, yeah. Anyway, 3 out of 10. This thing is rather ugly. Next, we got Pelicanopteryx, a hybrid between Hatzegopterus and Pelicanomimus. You know, like a lot of the base pterosaur ones, this one's just an for me. 5 out of 10. Next, Priopterodon, a hybrid between Prianosuchus and Dimetrodon. What is the point of this thing? I'm pretty sure they're already carnivorous amphibians with fins. Why couldn't they just resurrect one of those? Maybe they couldn't find the DNA of one and had to fuse with Dimetrodon in order to save face. Actually, come to think of it, this isn't even an amphibian anymore. So, like, this just gets weirder the more I think about it. 6 out of 10. Next, we got Rajastega, a hybrid between Rajasaurus and Ichthyostega. I guess it has a large nasal crest now. Yeah, that seems helpful. 2 out of 10. Next, Segnosuchus, a hybrid between Segnosaurus and Postosuchus. This one's stupid, but I like it. 7 out of 10. Next, we got Spinoraptor, a hybrid between Spinosaurus and Utahraptor. Actually, a pretty cool idea, and I like its execution. 8 out of 10. Next, we got Stegoceratops, a hybrid between Triceratops and Stegosaurus. Yes, technically this thing was shown in the movie, but it was only for a few seconds, and this thing lets us get a better look at it. Honestly, pretty cool idea, but, it's just kind of for me. It just looks like they just chucked a Triceratops' head onto a Stegosaurus' body and called it a day. I've never really been a fan of this one. Well, I finally talked about Stegoceratops. Next we got Suchoripterus, a hybrid between Suchomimus and Sungaripterus, I think that's how it's pronounced. It's a pterosaur one, so I'm not a big fan. 5 out of 10. Next we got Superrannotitan, a hybrid between Supersaurus and Tyrannotitan. If you're wondering about the nose horn, for some reason in this game they gave Supersaurus a nose horn, even though there's no evidence that it had one. Anyway, this one's fine, but it looks too much like a ceratosaurus and doesn't stand out much from it, so 4 out of 10. Next, Tapejolosaurus, a hybrid between Monolopholus and Tapejara. Pterosaur hybrid, 5 out of 10. Next, we got Tropegopterus, a hybrid between Tropegnathus and that one pterosaur whose name starts with a Z, whose name I don't even want to try to pronounce. It's a pterosaur hybrid and it barely looks distinct. 5 out of 10. Next, we got Unarhynchus, a hybrid between Unaeosaurus and Rhamphorhynchus. Unaeosaurus is actually a sauropod, but for some reason in this game they made it into an ornithomimosaur for some reason. I don't get it. Anyway, this one, it just kind of looks a bit too stupid to me. 3 out of 10. Finally, we got Eudon, a hybrid between Troodon and Eutyrannus. Kind of an underwhelming end. Like the feathers, though. It's always good to have feathered theropods in media. 6 out of 10. Well, it's all the hybrids in the game. Overall, a lot of them are kind of underwhelming. If anything, they kind of have the opposite problem of the toy line. While the toy line was all kinds of crazy and impractical, these ones, they felt like they were playing them a bit too safe with their designs. They were never really allowed to do anything much with them from, what I can feel like. Well, at least they're finally over, right? Right? Oh, right, there's 2 other sections of this game. Alright, our first aquatic hybrid is Dunkleosaurus, a hybrid between Dunkleosteus and Mosasaurus. This is actually pretty cool looking. 9 out of 10. Next we got Leptostega, a hybrid between Leptocleides and Protostega. This one, it's alright. 6 out of 10. Next we got Leosictodon, a hybrid between Leoplorodon and Ledzichthes. This one's not really working for me. It's too confusing. Is this thing a fish or a reptile? This thing... What is this thing? It's gross. 2 out of 10. Next we got Megacharlon, a hybrid between Megalodon and Archelon. Really? Of all the animals you could fuse with Megalodon, you choose the turtle. Really? This thing annoys me so much I'm giving it a 2 out of 10 on principle alone. Finally, our last aquatic hybrid is Xenothodon, a hybrid between Xiphactinus and Prognathodon. This one's just fine. 4 out of 10. Thankfully, there's only 2 cenozoic hybrids, so let's get into them. First, we got Mammotherium, a hybrid between a woolly mammoth and an elasmotherium. The elephant rhino hybrid. Can't go wrong. 8 out of 10. Then we got Megastochurus, a hybrid between Dodochurus and Megastrotherium. I think that's how it's pronounced. It's an armored wolf. 7 out of 10. Well, that's all the hybrids in this game. What? There are boss creatures. No! No, 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 no! I'm done. Wait, what? There's super hybrids? And the Jurassic World Pokemon Go game has hybrids? You know, no! I'm done! We've been here a while. Let's just get out of here, and maybe I'll talk about them some other day. But then again, I probably won't. I'm done talking about hybrids. You know what? Thank you for watching, and good night.